Hi guys, we're here to get started here finally. Sorry, we were just kind of chatting. Slaton was deleting files and that type of thing. So
He said we didn't need them.
yeah, absolutely. He's like, yeah, I didn't need it. So
Nah.
welcome to the Team Dakota stream of bi-weekly stream.
Yeah.
We had that discussion bi-weekly. Does that mean every other week or does that mean twice a week?
I don't know. What have we been doing?
So, anyways, we've been doing what we've been doing has been twice a week, 2.5 per week,
Yes.
and we'll have one tomorrow at 3:30.
Yes, another one.
And that'll be on the Microsoft Studios channel, and we'll include a link with that. What we're going to show you today is we're going to get into, we're going to reveal the World Wizard. It's going to be really cool. A new thing we have that we think people will get a kick out of. And then we're also going to go into default brains, and really kind of the goal of this stream is we show different aspects of Project Spark, and the game is really created to have, for everybody to have, everyone to have a chance to create at their own level and what they want. And with default brains, it shows that you can basically create an awesome experience without ever opening the code and doing anything. You can really get some stuff to go, and we've got
We talked about a lot of
young
simplification
Slaton with
layers,
us to
right?
show that.
So simplification layers. That's what we're going
Old
to do.
Slaton isn't here yet.
Say your names.
So Henry Sturgey, creative director, Project Spark.
Slaton White, game designer, Project Spark.
Sculpt.
So we're gonna get going here.
Behaviors.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, I forgot to
Ready
have.
to come to life.
I got distracted.
All right. So Project Spark is a sandbox where you can make your imagination come true. You can go ahead and sculpt the terrain in 3D. You can paint the terrain and add things to the world. You can make your own worlds, games, stories, little interactive movies. You can actually record yourself with Xbox One and Kinect.
You'd be an actor.
Yeah, that's true. And wow, we've got some really heavy effects around the creation. So this is a new build as we are heading in towards our beta. So you'll see a lot and hear quite a bit of different things. This is an example of our add brush. So you can see here in real 3D, I can just go ahead and add some really cool terrain to the level. I can go ahead and use our tunnel and our plateau, and I can punch through little tunnels right through our level. So again, I can just in real time sculpt out this level and make some really cool platforming type gameplay and stuff like that. And then some of the really fun stuff is we have our biome brush, which combines our paint and our prop placement. So you can have objects and paint your world at the same time. And we can do very simple and easy things like add a little river with our biome brush. And that allows you to create cool scenery really quickly.
Oh hey, why don't I take the logo off so people can see you?
Ah, all right. Either way, they're probably fine. And then one of the really cool things is very quickly you can hop in and test at any time. Here you can see we've got a default player character in the world. We've got some new animation fixes and some blending updates and things like that, so you can see a little bit of improvements around some of the core gameplay and the core animations. But one of the core things about Project Spark is that it's fun to play and create, and they're basically the same act. We feel that people should be able to make their sort of dream project, or they should just be able to doodle and just sort of mess around and experiment.
Right, and the
have
total
fun.
experience is both, right? It's
Yeah.
not one or the other. You're doing it, and it's just one thing the same. You're just having fun. It's been great. I've actually been creating stuff. I might make a little bowling game.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Candlepin, because
Oh,
nobody
like
knows. what
Canadian
candlepin-
bowling?
It's not Canadian. That's
You could-
duck
no, I'm
pin.
saying you could do Canadian bowling. You could put little tiny pins.
Isn't that with those kettles that they slide
I
on the
think
ice?
so, yeah. So one of the really cool things is you can very quickly and easily add things to your world. So here we've got some default little houses that we can put down. We've shown this before, but the houses sort of intersect really easily and well. So you can just place things and put them together and mix and match stuff. You can glue things together, assemble your own stuff, drop in some enemies and have some gameplay. Throw in something like a bridge and very quickly and easily scale it and do a bunch of fun stuff. I'm going to go back to let's go back to one of our hallmarks here. I'm gonna go grab our rock, I think. Let's do that
Yeah,
real
rock.
quick. Yeah. And why is it not selecting it? I think we might have our first on-screen rock here. Let's see. All right, there we go. So this is our little mainstay pet rock. So everything in the world has a brain, and it is programmable. We use a visual programming language. Here you can see there's a when side and a do side. So I can do something really fun and easy like sensors, when detect. You guys who have been watching a lot of this are going to notice the folders have been kind of rearranged a little bit, so there's been some optimization around where things are located. So I'm going to say things like when detect player, I'm going to actually say move, and then I'm going to put a modifier. So one of the really cool things is it's a deep visual programming language, but when I go to the little plus button there, it does this auto recommendation thing we call tile compatibility. So it actually just shows you the stuff you can do. So you can experiment with things, just try things, and just see how it works. So I'm going to mix up the script here and say that when it sees me, move away from me. So you can see here, the rock has detected me, so it's going to start running away. This goblin here has default enemy brains. Here's some of the new sounds and the new hits.
I can't hear any
some of
sound.
the new combat. And you can see very quickly we added a bunch of brains to that rock. And then one of the things we talked about is there's a lot of depth and there's a lot of different layers. So if you want to go in here and you want to make the rock do things where it doesn't just float across the ground, it actually behaves more like you'd expect from a physics object, I can set it to tumbling, and now it'll start to roll away from me. And just like that, you can start making a game, making your own movies, and a whole bunch of other things. It's very quick and easy to jump between editing and playing, and you can test out your worlds and your creations at any time. All right, so let's hop into what's new for today's stream. So this is what we call the world wizard.
Slaton's getting shout outs. I think he's got a bunch of fans. He stacked the audience with a bunch of fans.
That's a good idea, actually.
It's
Nice.
just my mom.
You don't have any fans.
Sometimes that's
Henry,
enough.
so you know.
I'm my own fan. I guess.
He's his own biggest fan.
That's all I need. My kids like me. So you may have seen something before Crossroads, and the goal of Crossroads is to be able to very quickly and easily play and create your own game. So as you're playing and making these choices, you're creating a game. So before we had this little template screen, and you can just go ahead and, hey, the guy who made the U-shaped hill in Minecraft said he'd be my fan. So shout out to Hadrian Mole.
That's right. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So very quickly and easily, you're making this game and you're building it up. So one of the things that we decided to do was look at that simplification layer and say, how can we make making a world really fun and quick and easy? And we had that little template screen, and that made it quick, but you got no feedback in that. It really wasn't about what Project Spark was. Exactly. Project Spark really is about getting this real-time feedback. So you can see here very quickly and easily, I can make these giant sweeping choices and decisions to my world. On the bottom, and this is also new for Crossroads, which we'll talk about more tomorrow, you can see that I can make some more finite choices. So I can actually alter and adjust things along the terrain, the height. I can say how rough I want the terrain, how big I want the lakes and the water, and I can set them and see them actually happening here in real time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick, I can also hit the X button and shuffle. So I'm going to pick mountains, and I'm going to fill them up with some more water, and then I'm going to make a larger world. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick mountains, and then Spark goes off and goes ahead and makes a scene with mountains. I can start off with an empty world, which you've seen, or I can fill it right in with the forest biome. So let's fill it right in with the forest biome.
Did you know that thinking
And now I can choose my time of day. There's some really cool stuff here. I can adjust the sun position. So you can see here I can change the lighting in real time. I can go ahead and change some filters, black and white, saturated, antique, desaturated, just a ton of possibilities on how you want to make your world look. And I can go ahead and change the shadows, so again, more sun direction.
Do I have
can
a
make it really bright. The art guys love it when we do that. And then I can go ahead and say, all right, let's go for daytime. And again, just like that, we've got this stuff going. So people are asking about some of the new audio, I think. You are hearing some overlapping audio, so there are some bugs with that, but for the most part, the audio is starting to really come in and get close to beta. Okay, so now that I've done that,
That's cool.
one of the things I can do here is I can go through, instead of this giant gallery and selecting my characters, we give you the game context of being able to select your characters. We allow you to put the scale right on them and change that right on the fly. And then we allow you to shuffle choices. So you guys are going to start to see a bunch of different cool characters. So let's go with the Woodlands Ranger
Wait
theme.
much longer and your hero
from
may
here,
retire.
I can hit the Y button and go straight into the character customizer. So I can go ahead and change the head. You guys haven't seen too much of the female stuff. Let me go ahead and go into the clothing and take off the hood so you can actually see the head a little bit better. So you can see here's one of the female character heads. You can go in here and you can do some customization on them. You can change out different heads. You can do some stuff with different hair types. You can go in and you can actually change the color of this. So I can go ahead and change the color of her hair. Make her maybe a little more anime here. And I can do all of this from the World Wizard. So again, it's a really quick, easy, simple, and most importantly, probably fun way to customize your game and get a head start on things. I can go into here just like you saw before, maybe with the attachments, and I can do some really crazy things or fun things. Let's see, what would be interesting here? what would make some sense? Let's attach a lotus flower to our left forearm. So I can take this, and just like everything else, I can scale it. I can go ahead and I can turn it, and I can rotate it. This one is probably a little bit bigger than I expected. I can go ahead and I can just put that on the character anywhere I want. Over. It'll actually stay attached, so let's just put it there. And I can just use this and customize my character. Now I can go ahead and place my character where I want to in the world. And then I can choose the brains. So I can go in here very quickly and easily, and I can say, oh, I want a third-person shooter, a third-person brawler, I want third-person flight, maybe a first-person shooter. Let's go with one of the ones we use a lot, which is the third-person adventurer. And then I've got my initial start for my game, and here I am running around playing. You can see my little lotus flower attached to my character. I have a little default dive roll, a default double jump. The ranger has a default fireball and punch. I've got little dodge moves, and just like that. And then, as we've shown before, I can go into edit, and I can just go ahead and start building off of this world that I just made. So I can go ahead and take the character, change the character. I can sculpt right here in the world that we just made, and do all types of stuff that you would normally see. But I just did it very quickly throughout the world with it. Project Spark will be available on Windows 8.1, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. We have a beta coming any week now, I guess, pretty soon.
Beta is imminent.
Beta is imminent, and we allow you to do things like create once and play it anywhere, so you can create on PC and then play that on your Xbox One. So there we go. So that's a quick look at the World Wizard. I'm going to hand it over to Slaton, and Slaton's going to continue to build, I think, off the World Wizard.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a few different choices.
Cool. And then we're going to show, again, how this cool simplification layer can turn into a game by using some of our default properties, brains, and assemblies that all kind of come with what you get. Slaton's going to set us up here.
Bug count, last I checked, was 8.
Well,
And that's the ZBR though.
we added some more today.
Well, no,
Did
but
you
that's
know
24
that
hours,
thinking
right? It's a
too
bug
long
that's been
makes
on
sense
for
for
24
rolling
hours.
Yep.
So
Seen it.
that doesn't mean that we didn't have some and then fixed them, but
Right. And the idea is that the bug count is about the things we want to fix. So we know for beta there will be bugs, and we'll need you guys to help with that and find bugs and report them and get them to us. We'll have some tool support options so you can get in touch with us. But there are some things that are experience
course, I'll
blocking
wait.
or
Do I have a
comfort
choice?
of life compromising, or just really things that are kind of disruptive to what we want to be able to let you guys experience so you can give us good feedback. So those are our very, very high priority bugs. Those are the ones we're fixing. And then, we're going to go through the process and get this out as soon as we can.
yeah, I
much
mean we're
longer and
getting
your hero
close.
may
A lot of the team isn't shaving.
That's
You
true.
can see on the
Yeah.
slate
So
he's
I'm
kind
not
of got a big
officially
beard.
involved, but right now I'm seeing how well I talk. And yes, people are picking up. This is one of the iterations on the new music.
Yeah.
So you'll hear some more tomorrow when we go through Crossroads. but
People
this
seem to
is-
like it, which is cool. I haven't
Good.
had time to
Good.
listen
so,
to it.
So this is more of the real Spark music. So let's let Slaton walk us through some of what he's doing.
So, I know in a lot of the previous streams that we've done, we've really gotten pretty deep into the code. But for this one, I think we're going to just try and use what's included. So we have some assemblies here that I can choose. Let's go with the escort. And so this is just a simple quest that I can put anywhere in the world. And
And for those joining us, an assembly is a collection of items that were glued together or contain a brain. It's something that you essentially want to save out, and you want to save in its state and then just drop it right into your level. So it could be a character with a brain that's already there. It could be a building that was built from little pieces. One of the things I showed was a bunch of like little modular scares. So an assembly can just be this thing that you save out and drop it in. So we are using an Xbox controller on Windows 8.1, and we're using a combination of mouse and keyboard. You can play Project Spark with controller, mouse, keyboard, and touch, and you can create those outputs and inputs. So you can make games with touch, you can make games with your controller, and all types of stuff. Mike's gonna really have to deliver on that bowling game.
I can't wait for that.
Well, I did it with rocks and apples, but I was lobbing them overhead, and it was just like so it wasn't really bowling.
I've seen people do that.
And then I made the and I made it score, and then every 10 points I made my guy level up.
Oh, cool.
So
what did
it was
you when
kind
they
of
leveled
cool.
up?
Nothing.
Oh.
It just, well, then you had a different, instead of throwing an apple, then you had something else, and it did other things. It was kind of cool.
So Slaton's got his default character, and he threw in an assembly, and he's got somebody following him around?
Yeah. So this is just a simple escort quest. So maybe he's lost and trying to get back to his house. And so all I did was drop him in and move where his house was.
Right. So a cool thing
And
to
then-
point out is it's actually making game goals for you.
Right, exactly. So when I interacted with him at the beginning, you noticed there was like an exclamation point
Yep.
above his head. And after I talked to him, he gave me a quest to take him back to his house. And then once I did that, he gave me a reward of a coin. And then I can go in and maybe add some enemies to make it a little bit more difficult. So let's make a little path here so we know where we're going.
Said, ask them to talk about beta codes. I don't know.
What about beta?
I don't know.
Somebody said, how do we know the people who get beta codes are the ones who'll have Windows 8? Well, I mean, what we'll be doing is, we'll be seeing sort of the rate at which people sort of fire it up. So we'll be unleashing more and more beta codes as that rate stabilizes, and we know that our server load can handle it and things like that.
Yeah, and
So if we give them out and people don't necessarily use them, that just means they're going to open up faster for the next round, probably.
right. Yeah, I think it's not unreasonable to think that there's going to be a lot of people that might have signed up that either, they forgot about it or they, whatever. So we don't expect everybody we send the key to do it, but we have to be careful because we don't want to overload the service and break everything. Although sometimes you got to break stuff. That's the way you're going to learn. So we're going to have some issues, I'm sure. But we're going to ramp up pretty quickly as much as it can handle. And, our goal is to get everybody who wants in the beta in. Just a question of how quickly we can get there.
So, Slaton, we have some HUD now popping up.
Yeah. So on the upper right, it's telling that I have a quest. And this was just simple brain stuff that anyone can do. And I can go and edit it. And it's telling me where I need to take him. And also his health. So if he were to get damaged, I would know, and I could maybe leave him over here, and then
cool.
go and take care of the
Like
the
Ashley
enemies.
in Resident Evil 4.
Right, exactly.
Put her in the dumpster.
I don't know about that.
You can put her in the dumpster. They know. I'm not kidding. Sounded mean though, didn't it?
Let's see. I think I'm gonna add a few more enemies, make it really difficult.
So some of the philosophy behind this is you can go to the gallery and things that sort of you expect. Like an enemy will just have a brain built into it.
Yeah.
But there's also a whole gallery and a library of other things that you can plug into stuff. So, like, for example, you can just put a brain into that default character and change it.
Yep. So this was the brain of the guy in the assembly, and all it has is a quest setup, and I can go in here and maybe add him to my team. So if I want him to be, maybe I want him to help me or make it more difficult so that he can be attacked or something like that.
So we actually haven't shown teams, and I know we didn't want to dig too much into the brains, but maybe just give people a recap on what teams are real quick.
So teams are basically a way to easily tell if someone's an enemy or not. So for example, if I go into the brain of this goblin, you'll notice that he's on team 2, and if I go into the brain of the player that I am, he's on team 1. And then by default, all teams are enemies to each other.
Right, and some of the things that influences, it makes it easy for you to do scoring systems and
Yep.
things like that around teams, but it also really affects the combat systems. So, for example, you can turn on, I think it's actually on by default, you can turn on things like auto-locking and stuff so that when you punch, it'll sort of turn and attack and sort of, auto-aim towards things. So you could actually kind of delegate things to the teams, and then you don't have to necessarily, auto-aim towards an escort. So here you see, Slaton's able to just kind of very easily point towards the goblins, and it's not hitting his escort person. The goblins also know the escort person is a bad guy, or to them, a bad guy, so they're going right after them. So it actually has a ton of different benefits, from playability to game goals to all types of stuff.
And now I've got so many goblins that it's pretty hard to deal with them all. So I think what I'm going to do is add in an ally for me. So I can go into the gallery here, and then let's see what kind of people we can get to help us.
Right. So some of the things that people have talked about are how will you find levels, how will you find things in the game. So we're going to support a bunch of different things. You're going to be able to search by creator. You can search by level. Every single item that we've built in the game has tags in it. So you can do things like search for houses, and a bunch of houses will show up. You could search for like different types of categories. Sometimes things are tagged by genre. So there'll be a lot of different ways that you can search and find stuff. Obviously, you can go through the gallery and you can search alphabetical. When it comes to finding people's creations and the things that they make and that they've shared with the world, you can actually go through a bunch of different feeds. We'll be updating feeds all the time. We'll have some editorialized feeds, and we'll also have things like alphabetical or newest or top rated, hottest for the day and stuff like that. Yeah. Andy really loves your beard. Yeah, no.
Really?
Nice.
Okay.
Andy said he's going to come down and start to make some really cool stuff. He's going to do some artwork.
All right.
So I think showing the combination of the default brains for World Wizard and then Andy working his magic will be pretty sweet. We'll have a pretty wicked level by the end of that.
I think so.
I did the wicked thing for you.
What was
I'm
that?
gonna add
I said wicked.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah, I did wicked for you.
Wicked pissa. I don't know. Can you say
I didn't.
pissa?
I can't.
I
I'm
don't
from
think
New
you
York.
said-
I'm not allowed. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I have to say draw and wolf.
So I think I'll add another quest here, actually.
You were doing something before, and I love the poison pool. You should do that little like
Yeah,
river
that's
mode.
what I was
think it's
thinking
pretty
about.
sweet. So again, you can see whether you there's a ton of different ways to start on Project Spark. So you can jump in and just play things that other people have created. Maybe you want to remix those things. Maybe you just want to play. You can start from a blank slate and build whatever you want. Or you could do things like the World Wizard and have a really quickly generated world that you can start from. And at any time, you could also jump into Crossroads and make your game like that. At any time, you can hop into edit the things you want to be able to edit, make really finite changes. Here you can see Slaton's put in a little river with a small little island in the middle. So you can dive in as deep, or stay as high level and just drop fun things into the world and have it make a game. So let's see. So what questions are we starting to get, Mike?
We're getting a ton of questions. A lot about beta. Alpha code's going to get in the alpha. No, you can't use the Surface RT as a smart glass device. So yeah, any smart glass enabled device will be supported by the smart glass app when that comes around. That's going to be obviously that's the Xbox One.
Yep, and we'll have more details on that as we get closer.
Yeah, as we get closer there. What were the other questions? So yeah, if you sign up for beta, www.projectspark.com, that's where we're going to be sending out a lot of keys. We'll also be handing it out to people in the community, folks that are out and active. Our real goal ultimately is we want to put people in that are actually going to play the game, create, and do everything, because we need to learn what resonates, what doesn't, what we can improve on, what you guys want to see.
Right. So what themes will be available at launch is an interesting question. We haven't really talked exactly about what we're going to have at beta or at launch beyond that. One of the big things is that we are a service. We'll continue to update. We're going to be continually learning, adding new things, and doing stuff like that. It's safe to say that the majority of the major things that people have seen will most likely be there. I know that we can say that Woodlands and the desert themes will be there. We may have some surprises down the road, but those are the ones that we know right now for sure will be there.
People asking if anything's carrying over from alpha.
Level-wise?
Right.
We're looking
try,
into
right?
Yeah, we're looking into that and how much work it'll actually take to sort of like get those things back up to parity. The biggest thing for us is, and this is one of the things that frankly has a lot of the time that we're taking to get to beta is, from here on out everything has to be kind of compatible, right? So things have to be able to continue and stay. So that wasn't one of the priorities in alpha, which means missing content, changing things, broke a lot of stuff. Some beyond reasonable repair. Some of them we may be able to go in and take care of. So we're looking into that. We're trying to make sure that there's a decent amount of stuff to start with today. We've got an incredible amount of things the community made that we'd love to be able to continue, or maybe hopefully they'll be able to easily and quickly rebuild. But for the most part, we're looking at beta on from keeping that kind of safe compatibility.
Right.
So Slaton here has thrown down a bunch of poison pits, and he's messing around with brightness and intensity and going through the properties.
Yeah, just to make it a little bit more spooky.
And this is all stuff that you can just basically drop in the world and have work. So again, like if you want to just jump in and never look at the brains, or take your time and not look at the brains and jump in, like you can make fun, playable games just right off the bat.
Yeah, I've done very little in here.
Will be in beta. That is definitely one of the ones we're trying to keep in beta. So what are you throwing in now, the God Ray?
Yeah, God Ray. Just to kind of give you a waypoint.
That's cool. Now, one of the things you'll notice too is that bar on the bottom. That's actually sort of cataloging your most recently used and deployed props. So you can very easily and quickly kind of sift back through there and sort back through there. So could you make MMOs? So we haven't said a lot about multiplayer. So we haven't really said about like lots of people gathering and playing together and stuff like that. But as far as like the actual gameplay elements about it, you can make characters that level up. It takes some effort and some work, but you can make inventory systems. We have the ability to expand our level size, which we call infinite worlds. You can do that. You can link levels to each other. So, you know, theoretically, you can make a very large open space with leveling up characters, enemies, and loot and things like that. So you can do all of those hallmarks. But we haven't talked about the multiplayer aspect of that yet. We hope to, probably as we get closer to the Xbox One beta after we get beta out there.
People are asking about creating on the Surface Pro and how well that does it. I know you kind of have a story about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I use the Surface Pro to create a blackjack game. And, you know, we have a bunch of different settings that are available in the options. So you can do things like turn down the resolution, turn down the shaders. Basically, you can optimize performance down to your minimum spec or crank it for your kind of superpower machines and stuff like that. And I would say after cranking things down a bit on the Surface Pro, I was able to have a really good time making the blackjack game. The brain stuff works really well. You throw a controller in and it works right away. The Surface Pro 2 has a 4400. We're definitely seeing a pretty significant performance bump from the Surface Pro 2. So the Surface Pro 2 is pretty slick. I was able to start running in the higher settings and still get a pretty consistent like 30 frames. The Pro 1, you have to go down to the lower ones to get the 30 frames. But even when you put up the higher ones, you know, if for you you're just in the brains and 20 frames is something livable or something that's fine, you can go ahead and customize that stuff. We are also working on doing some more optimizations. We don't know if they're all going to make beta, but chances are what you have seen and what you've seen before will run a little bit better. So we're always trying to make things faster.
Actually, that's a good question. Maybe let me retract my yes. So I want to have a game where the first thing the player does is type in their name.
Okay.
Code-wise, I'm trying to think about how I would give the player a text input. How would you pop that up? I don't know that there's a tile that.
So, I mean, you could do that, I guess, a bunch of different ways. Slaton, you have any ideas around that?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't listening.
How you could start a game where the player puts in their name.
Puts in their name.
So
well, I remember someone made a typing game.
Yeah,
that
that's
was
right.
That was really cool.
That's right.
So you could read in what keys are being pressed.
Right.
And probably make something like that.
Right. So basically what you could do is you could assign the keyboard buttons, probably individually, to say that it would actually read back what you typed in.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, you'd probably have to find a way to store it as a variable. If
I
you
started
wanted
doing
things like the name to show up all over the
Yeah.
place.
I started doing a
that might
three-letter
get tricky.
thing,
That might get
with
tricky.
like a little three-letter thing on my bowling game, just
Right.
to do that. And there's probably an easier way. I'm doing it, of course,
Yeah.
the hard way, and
Yeah.
like putting everything in.
I actually
But
haven't dug into too much of that. That's a good
yeah, it's a
maybe
good
we could try
question,
to dig
Make.
into.
Mako. That was Mako Wolf. No default string inputs. I guess that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will
So
there be
here
a-
Slaton's going into the tags, diving into the gallery, and he's got a cool treasure chest. And some bear traps. See, this is why bear traps are awesome.
Bear traps are awesome.
I know, I want to see the bowling game now too. I think the bowling game is a lie.
No, maybe. Most things I say is a lie, so I mean, your odds are pretty good. But
No, I think you got to get that on there. You got to get it on there before the community leapfrogs and makes like the definitive bowling game.
oh, I know that's true.
So you can see here Slaton threw in some bear traps. They're triggering when he gets close to them. They're automatically damaging him. He's got a treasure chest. Treasure chest opens and spins out some coins. He can collect the coin. The numbers just show up. Like all of this stuff just shows up.
Yeah, I didn't really do anything to edit the brains of those. All I did was put them in.
Yep. So again, you can just go in and you can edit. You can create any game you want, or you can just go ahead and play around with like this default stuff and make games out of that. The combat to Dark Souls degree. Well, I mean, Dark Souls is a extremely unforgiving.
I don't know that any game
very
could
highly
balance
tuned
something to
Twitch,
Dark
yeah.
Souls degree. That is just sort of
And
like
you really have to
a
respect From
masterpiece.
Software. They did some amazing
Yeah.
things. I would say that we are dabbling in some of those areas. The first-person combat is an area that we'd like to do a little bit more, spend a little bit more time on and polish things on. So from a first-person combat perspective, I would say that you're going to have more work to get to that polish level. But you can definitely do things like, does an attack get interrupted or not? How fast does this attack play? How many frame play and things like that. So you can look at stuff like that, and you can try and get a lot of that paper, rock, scissors, distancing versus move canceling, another move type of balancing that you see in a really combat heavy game or a fighting game. It really depends on how deep you want to go into it. So we've got our default sword coming in here.
One of them.
One of them. Oh, you're going to just put it in the...
Yeah.
That's cool. So another cool thing is, we're using a voxel-based terrain technology. So you can see here that things can just sort of intersect with stuff really well, very nicely. Collisions and stuff just sort of work themselves out. So there's a lot of really cool things people have made by mashing stuff together, combining things, sort of altering things on its axis and building objects. In our last stream, we showed somebody made a dinosaur. That was pretty cool and really unexpected. I think that the coolest thing everybody keeps on asking me is, what are you excited about that the community is going to make? And I always keep answering it the same thing. It's the unexpected, because playing games for so many years and things like that. It's awesome to see these new mechanics emerge and these new things that you've never seen before. And in Project Spark, it's easier than ever to do stuff like that. So that's something I'm really excited about. So Slaton is dropping in some effects, and he's going in and tinting them. Hopefully in this build that works.
Oh yeah.
Alright, so you got a cool sword with some sparkle, and now you're putting in some lighting, so you can go ahead and individually place some lighting.
Yeah, I put some lights over near these poison clouds over here, and now I'm going to place one so you can see this sword a little bit better.
So Theo,
The other me.
The other me, 111, was asking to show some more on the Retro Wars game. I think there's a stream where Jared actually dives into that and dissects that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm trying to think which one it was.
There is some stuff out there.
We actually showed how he made it, and
Yeah.
we took it apart, and it was actually pretty clever. People were asking about debugging, like how do you when he showed the brain, like some questions were coming up.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
like how do you figure out what's going on?
Right.
Is there a debug, or are you just gonna look at it?
So as you place a tile, if it breaks or if it's not compatible, there is a little icon that shows up, so you can see that. If you then leave that brain and you try and look at it or try and go to runtime on it, you'll see another icon on it that shows that brain has sort of a function. You won't necessarily break entire brains very easily. You'd more likely break that line. So what you would then do is go back into the brain, see where that flag on the icon is, and then you can see where the line is. But Slaton might be able to show you here. We've added something new just recently around debug to show all the objects in your world. That's another cool way to find some stuff and whether it's working. We've got debug spheres, debug line draws that you can print on screen. If you're doing things like logic, you can actually print the logic and the booleans and the true-false statements to your screen, so you can have a series of debug prints if that's what you want to display things. So for example, if you say something like, oh no, combo breaker, that's the chat actually timed the combo breaker with your assert.
Really?
It was
Really?
pretty funny.
That's
yes.
pretty good.
That was great.
You can see that was an ultra combo after the combo breaker. Luckily, we didn't get into the humiliation and have the whole build crash.
So PAX feature focus was where we broke down the
Yeah, we
geometry
did dive
roles.
into that some. So
PAX
that's a good
feature
one to look
focus.
for the Retro Wars. So
Thanks, Mescade.
So again, you can draw those debug spheres, draw debug prints. There's a ton of stuff you can do to go ahead and check out sort of your own games and things like that. Is there an MMO aspect to this game other than creation? We'll talk more about that when we get closer to multiplayer.
Yeah, we haven't announced.
And
Well, we've announced we will have multiplayer, but we haven't given any details. And when we do, we want to roll out the full picture. We want to make sure we understand exactly what we can deliver. And that's going to be, I don't know, soon, but it's coming
So before that,
sooner rather than later.
Before that, one of the things we can touch on is it's really important to us that playing and creating are basically the same thing, right? It needs to be very fun to create something. You go into a kind of a game school or something that you're using to make stuff, and there's no focus obviously on those around fun. So the idea is that all of these things are fun. So you will start to see some stuff about making creating itself even more fun, even cooler, and having some emergent things that can really inspire you and give you some goals and some things. So we'll talk about that stuff really soon, but there will be some more stuff around things making creating fun. Can you guys show how a car would work? So cars have come up quite a bit. We haven't dove into cars directly because we sort of focus on a certain layer of things. One of the things we prioritized for sort of our first run here leading up to beta was sort of action adventure, platform games, third-person camera. That doesn't mean you can't do first-person, you can't do first-person shooter, you can't do simulation games and SimCities type things and things like that. It just means that we have this kind of quick create. We have very easy buttons, we have very easy default brains that are focused around that stuff. So what we don't have are quick create ways to make cars, vehicles, pre-built models and stuff like that. The easiest thing to do, because things like multi-axle or axle suspension and stuff like that is a little bit of a ways out. It's on our roadmap to make those things easy. The easiest thing to do is stuff like hover games and floating cars and flying cars. Slaton built Goblin Wings, which is probably in one of our feeds. And Goblin Wings has a bunch of really cool flying mechanics and stuff like that. So those things are actually pretty easy to build. You can do things like just put forward movement on them. You can tune your turning radiuses and stuff like that. So people have made racing games. People have actually made a kart racer. So it is possible.
I didn't put that.
It's just David, the testing group. And I think David Freeze made it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you can do stuff like that, but I would not say. I would say it's going to take a decent amount of time investment to be able to pull off a really strong racing game with what we're releasing at beta. But there's no reason with our physics engine and things like that we're not capable of getting there.
Will this inspire a new game genre?
Yeah, I think when you think about things like, there are some creation-based games out there and stuff, obviously, but the real idea here was to think about it from a YouTube perspective, right? Anybody with a camera can go up and put up something on their camera. And I think that's really the thing that's been our strength when we're starting our challenges and our communicating. It's like, you don't have to make a game to enjoy it. You could just put on these Macs or do some funny recordings and make your own movie. You could just make incredibly beautiful worlds. You could do a full text-based story like a work game, right? You can actually do those type of things. So, at the end of the day, you can look at all of those things and you can say, wow, this is a bit of a new genre because you can change the game, you can actually adjust things, and you can do whatever you want. So they're saying they have a hard time hearing you, which is bad because Slaton's been shy today.
I'm just making my game.
They can't hear me over the game.
Hold on. Let me exit out.
Yes.
Just hit the.
So Mike's gonna turn that down.
Let me see if this works. Hey, we'll see. This is work in progress. Okay.
All right. So I'll let Slaton talk a little bit too, and just explain some of the stuff he's done, and then we can maybe hop back into some questions.
Right. So one of the things we touched on earlier, and I'm going to go back to it, is teams. And so all of these goblins here and all these humans have teams set up. And so by default, they're set up as enemies.
Chat.
Oh, sorry.
So if I go over here and...
is that better? Yeah, okay.
They can hear us better now?
Yep.
All right, great. So I've set up a little battle here, and all I've done is add them, and they're automatically going to attack each other.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That is cool.
And all I had to do was drop them in.
I'm here to help.
And then if I get near them, they're actually going to start to follow me once there's no enemies nearby. And so I can kind of take them around the area and defeat all the goblins.
That's cool. So some of the other stuff you did with the poison pit, and
Yeah.
and that was pretty cool stuff.
Here, I'll jump over there. Don't want to be distracted by this huge battle.
We can go into the prop gallery a little bit and show some of the stuff that's in there.
All right.
So people are asking about sort of the limits on the undo. So the undo bar can go really, really, really far when you're actually in it and you're editing. The challenging thing, and we think we might have some ways to sort of work around this, but not for beta, is when you do go into test your level, you will lose your undo stack. So you won't be able to undo previous things before after you come back from test back into edit. But until you go into test, the undo stack is really, really large. So that is basically the official Logic Cube now. There might be some small tweaks to it. I know Andy wasn't 100% happy with it.
No, he wouldn't let me show it. I wanted to actually use it. He's like, no, that's
So
not
what do we have
final."
here that you grabbed?
One of the trapdoors.
So edit from here is a question to get to.
So edit allows you to sort of have your character in the world wherever they are, and that's sort of your starting point, so you can keep going back there if you just say edit. And then edit from here will actually just allow you to start right back from wherever your cursor is. So if you do something like make an underground tunnel or do some stuff where Slaton's doing here where he's going under the world, and for some reason your character is really, really, really far away on the map and you just wanted to try it here, you can do edit from here. So it's always auto-saving. So it is constantly auto-saving. When you go in and out of edit, it's auto-saving. Every so often, just while you're doing stuff, it's auto-saving. When you place things down, it's auto-saving. And then you'll always have this kind of running auto-save.
There's not any tile that controls audio volume, is there?
Yes. So it's a modifier after you place the sound event.
Okay.
You can control the volume and the pitch.
And you can control it either through properties or even code.
I haven't seen them in properties.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, there's definitely some fun stuff you can do with sound. We haven't dove a lot into that because a lot of the sound was placeholder, and some of the things didn't have hooks, so it was difficult to show off a good variety of the sounds. But that's something we can dive into more with beta, or Mike loves to talk about how we won't have an NDA on beta, so we welcome you guys to make your own streams and show some of your own cool stuff.
I just want you guys to do all my work for me, so that way I don't have to worry about creating content and let you guys do it. Then I don't have to do these streams twice a week, 2.5 times a week.
I thought you said you were gonna stream nonstop at one point.
I wish, right? Maybe I will.
So let Slaton narrate a little bit more here.
So I made a little trapdoor area, and
Okay.
I'm gonna see. I imagine it's gonna be pretty dark if I get trapped in there. So we might have to maybe bring a torch down there.
Oh!
Yeah, it's a little bit dark, but I can still get up
it's
here.
pulling me all the way out.
And now,
You have to have
now I'm right behind the
Austin
goblins.
Powers guy. What was it, number 2? I'm hurt, but I'm okay. That little crocodile that eats him. It's amazing how quick you just set up like an epic battle scene.
Yeah, I love doing that.
Now you gotta put like a piece of cheese on the trapdoor and trap the bad guys.
Yeah, you could totally do it. Actually, let's see if we can trap the enemies. So I'm gonna delete all the allies here.
Can you take brains between levels?
With level linking. Yeah, I just saw that. Not yet. Level linking is something that is in a very, very delicate and fragile state for beta, and I don't think it's going to make it.
Okay.
And that is part of the reason, because we want to try and make sure that we have that one. Oh, is the coin trap still around? I don't think we have that assembly anymore that fires off the media storm.
Do we?
Yeah, I don't think we have it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't see
I
it.
think you're in the ground.
Let's see. So now that I've so this trapdoor right here is actually controlled by the lever,
Oh, cool.
whereas the trapdoor over
Who's gonna fall for
here.
that, though?
Well, exactly. Maybe they don't know it's a trapdoor yet until I trigger it. So I'll put the.
Somebody's
the lever.
asking on how would they make their own retro games. So there's a couple interesting ways. In the last stream, we showed something called Cubify. So Cubify, if you saw I think it was 8-bit Hero, 16-bit Hero. Remember that that sort of old retro game where everything's blocky but still has lots of colors and stuff. So you can go ahead and Cubify the environment. Check out the last stream to do that. What I did when I tried to make some old school type of Doom stuff where I wanted almost like a billboard that would turn was I replaced my character with a Logic Cube, and then I had the Logic Cube display the art image of my character, which would basically put them as an old school pixelaty type billboard. I scaled it up so I could pixelate it. And then I put the logic for my character on the billboard so I could move around and shoot and hit and take damage. And I was able to make an old kind of retro game like that. And it was pretty funny.
So now I've got my pit set up.
Well, change your own brain if you walk into a certain room. That's an interesting thing. We haven't talked about it. We have a couple of interesting features around the brain that we've we very barely showed. One of them is called Push Brain. I know maybe Slaton can talk a little bit about more a good example for Push Brain, but essentially you could walk into a room, call a Push Brain, and then have that character take on a completely different brain you push to it.
Right. So that's one way. Well, are we talking about multi-brain yet?
We can talk about multi-brain. We haven't talked about that, but I think it'd be a good time.
So similar to Push Brain is a feature called multi-brain, and with multi-brain, it allows you to kind of switch up or add to the
You're
brains.
off camera, it's like-
Oh. So you can kind of think of
I don't
multi-brain
need to
like.
be on camera.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's very different
Actually,
than
let's
pages. Actually.
take one of the.
So you
two
can have a
screens.
brain that can contain hundreds of pages,
Yep.
and then you can push brain another brain that has hundreds of pages in it, and you can multi-brain another brain that has multiple pages in it.
Right, and the difference really between push brain and multi brain is push brain is kind of like a one-off, like
Right. It
maybe you
swaps
get
it.
stunned.
Yeah.
That would be more of a push brain.
Right.
But if you wanted to give a player a new ability, like shooting like bigger fireballs or
Right.
something like that, you could use multi brain to
Right.
add a new feature to them.
The other thing you could do for multi-brain is, let's say you make this amazingly awesome magical spell, and you want to put it on your main character. Well, if you use multi-brain, what you can do is build the spell in its own independent brain, and then just use multi-brain to plug that fireball into characters, trees, rocks, and then everything can easily take on that brain. So multi-brain and push brain give a ton of flexibility. One thing, actually, I'm going to interrupt you whenever you get back to edit. You don't have to do it now.
Yeah.
Is people are asking about naming pages. That would be cool if you could show naming
Oh
pages.
yeah.
Sure.
I was getting that asked on Twitter, and I'm like,
How many players will multiplayer support? I hate to be mean, but all we've confirmed is more than one. We're
well,
doing.
then it wouldn't really be multiplayer.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. Right. So we're doing. We're doing just a lot of things around performance and across platforms, and obviously our goal is to support the. Oh, that's cool. Support the right number of players. We know it's important. We know we want a social element. We want people to build together with their friends. So we're working hard to try and do the best we can.
So we wanted to show off the naming pages then.
Yeah, so naming pages, and then the other thing too is, I know we said we wouldn't go into the brains, but I think we have a lot of core people here that are interested in some of the deeper stuff. They wanted to show a name above the character again.
The name above the character in game.
Yeah, so just show the name in game and how you can make it.
Okay, so I'll do that first. Put my character over here.
So yeah, you can make the goblins avoid the hole. You can do things like when detect or when see, and then you can have them move away from it.
Or I
You
just
can
set up a
have them-
sensor that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can put up a sensor that they're repelled from. There's quite a few different ways. They do have basic obstacle avoidance. So if you made it an obstacle or something, they'd have some basic avoidance, but you could literally like repel people away from stuff too. Okay, so there's the character name over the character, and that's one way to do it. And that's a simple, quick way to do it. There's actually a couple different ways to do it. You can change the font and the color. Have goblins turn into squirrels when they fall into the hole. That's pretty cool.
I'd rather have squirrels turned into goblins.
I don't know. That's a
So
pretty
they're
big,
asking
goblin.
about characters. Is it only the goblin and the troll as enemies?
Well, anything could be an enemy.
Yeah.
So
So
But
that's
you know,
misleading. But as far as like classes or races or things that we have, I would say that's what you could expect around beta would be humans and goblins, and we'll have some more stuff following up shortly thereafter. But don't forget, you can attach things to those characters. You can do quite a bit to alter them. Wow, that's a big ass squirrel. So I missed it. Did you show brain page naming?
Oh yeah, let me get to that. Just thought I'd make
Whoa.
some enemy squirrels.
damn, I hate that.
Trolls are on the bubble.
Trolls are on the bubble.
Trolls are on the bubble. See, the thing is that, like, in order to make the dream of, like, anything can do anything, there has to be a certain amount of parity within the characters. So the trolls have to have that level of parity, and we're working on that actively.
Yeah. So here's a good example of naming pages. So this is one of the quests. This is the, let's see, I think it's,
Shining Force. What a great game. Yeah, you can do old school conversation bubbles. You can do the text bubble so it reads out and goes, and then you can play some emotes and have them loop so they can go like that and stuff like that.
So this is the fetch quest, and naming these pages really helps to organize what I'm doing. So you can think of each of these pages as a different mode. So in the first one, it's just waiting for the player, and that's going to display the exclamation point above the NPC's head. And then when it detects him, it's going to turn towards him and say some stuff, and then allow him to be interacted. And then here's where we switch pages. So when you interact with this person, it's actually switching to a completely different page to allow different logic.
Right. Just show them rename the page real quick, though.
Yeah, sure.
So if you go into where it says Quest Active, which is the name of the page, that's one way. So you can go in here and you can say rename page, or you can actually click the page name or touch the page name. So there are a couple things. I was still reminiscing about Shining Force. If I remember right, Shining Force, believe it or not, was made by Climax. Who's done
Climax?
things like Blood Forge and a bunch of really cool racing games.
Yeah. All right, that's old school.
So that was old school. There's a couple other things. Yeah, I know. It's making me almost want to play Shining Force now too. What was the last one? There was Shining in the Darkness, Shining Force. I know it was like 5 or 6 of them that were amazing. What is the object limit in a level without level linking? The object limit's still pretty deceptive, and it's something that we're actively sort of balancing and tweaking. I think we're going to need to gather a lot of feedback around beta, around
ultimately,
systems,
it's
performance,
artificial,
and stuff
right?
like that.
Like it's
Well, it's not
well,
entirely.
but we have that limit because we don't want people to have a bad performance. So if you have
We have that limit for quite a few reasons, right? Some of it is cross-platform reasoning. Some of it is just in general making sure that you can't break. We want to make it as hard to break things as possible. So that's one of the reasons why we have that limit. But ultimately, where that number rests is probably going to be something that changes as time goes on, and it's something that alters. Right now, I can tell you what limit we're at right now. We're at 2,500. You're going to be able to check that in beta very soon yourself. And we're going to gather all kinds of feedback and stuff like that. We've been bouncing back and forth between 2,500, 3,000, and we just run into different balances and different things between them. So we're trying to find the right number to make it right, and it's something we want feedback on.
That was the other good question: is do combined objects count as one?
Combined objects currently do, and that's another thing we want to look into. We also want to look into things like making objects that don't have any brains in them count less or not count.
Right. Well,
So-
ultimately, it comes down to you could have a bunch of asteroids that are tumbling in physics and hitting each other, and you're not going to have anywhere near 2,500, and you might see some game
Right.
performance slowdown. Or you could have a bunch of posts, and you could hit the limit and with no slowdown. So it's really an artificial measure, right? It's just sort of a guide to try to, not do it. But gameplay-wise, I think it's going to be pretty hard to hit the prop limit unless you're actually trying to do it, or you're doing something really weird like building stuff out of the Empire State Building out of,
Yeah.
I don't know, toothpicks.
Yes. So Slaton is a prop gallery browsing dream right here.
Oh, Bias. Where is Bias still in the chat? Here you go, man. Yeah, you can scale up items, to whatever size you want. So you can actually put things together as a prop, save it as an assembly together, as an object, and then you can take that and scale the whole thing up and down and do whatever you want.
It's really easy, too, to have an item that you bump and it goes away, and then you can go ahead and make that scale you a certain percent or by a certain number. Can we rename the brain? Yeah, you can totally rename the brain pages yourself. Yep, you can just go in there and rename any of the brain pages.
We just showed that, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah,
They're
actually
reminiscing
go back.
about old games. Now they're bringing up Blood Rain.
So this is one of the
Made a city and put a
pages
lot
we
of detail
renamed.
into the benches last week.
Let's see. Switching to quest.
If you made a city, you'd probably start getting to the point where you're gonna be noticing the problem. City is probably a good example of getting into that. Yeah.
Well, it depends on the level of detail in your city, right? and
Well,
what
yeah,
we're
he's
doing.
talking about benches and light posts and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, you'll start getting.
You
into
could
that.
do like a block or something and probably
Yep.
be fun. But if you tried to make the whole city, yeah, that's probably a little bit bigger.
Can you explain switch pages versus call pages?
I don't even know the answer to that.
Oh yeah, sure. So switch pages will actually permanently turn the page to whatever's chosen. So for example, down here, when I interact with this person, it's going to move to quest active, switch to this page, if I called a page, it would basically be like extending the size of this brain, so it's only going to run for like one frame.
Oh, so just going to run through and then we'll go back.
Yeah, so it's
Right.
kind of like, you can think of call page kind of like copy pasting that page temporarily into one of them.
Okay, cool. That's a good explanation. The other thing too is he there hit he used his page name. You can use the page number too. So
Yep.
you can switch the page by a bunch of stuff.
Or even next page,
Yep.
or previous page.
I love that poison field. Did you jump in there and show the damage? So
Oh,
just
yeah, let's do
automatically
that.
drop down a bunch of poison fields and they show the damage. One of the things, holy wow, it's 4 o'clock. One of the things, you showed the score, perfect.
So I've actually got a few different scores here. In the upper middle is my kill score, and then the upper right is a quest that I'm currently doing to kill 3 goblins. So after I
Wow.
kill these 3 goblins, I can finish the quest, and I think I get a coin from it.
Oh, look at that.
And then you'll notice that the middle score will continue to rise as I kill these goblins, and I could do something with it. Like maybe when I get to 6 kills, I get a new weapon or
That's
something like
cool.
that. So let's delete these guys real quick, and I'll try out the poison clouds. I don't know if I'll be able to get out of here. Hopefully. Oh no!
Ah,
So close. Oh, I died.
Way to go.
Let's give us a way out.
so Slaton, we'll break our rule at the very end for something people asked
Alright.
to see. Can you just turn an object into when you touch it, it'll make you bigger?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you're putting in a higher level ground under
Yeah,
there?
so I can actually get out. I think there might already be a brain that does that, actually. Let's see.
So Sniper's asking if we can make the prop limit higher based on different platforms, machines. Something that is a delicate question because, like, you want to make sure that it's a very simple process of being able to get all the games across the different platforms, and then it's starting to involve compatibility questions and dynamic allocations of memory and stuff like that. So it is something we're considering, we're looking into, we're thinking about ways to do that. It's possible. It's definitely something that, since we're only on Windows 8.1 for the initial beta, it's something that we're not addressing right away.
So I've got one mushroom in here, and there was actually a default brain that allowed you to interact with it and make it grow.
Oh, make
I'll
it
see,
grow? Oh, that's
yeah.
cool.
So I'll see if I can do a bump instead. See what that does.
We're going to have to wait for release to level link. Well, no, we really hope not. I mean, again, like the idea is that we're going to be constantly updating and
There we go.
There we go. And adding stuff and making changes and polishing and doing things based on feedback. So, we don't know how frequent we'd be able to do it. Obviously, we think we'll have to kick the tires a little bit, and hopefully we can.
I heard
get
on
more
Sin
and
City
more
Sparking,
frequent.
they're expecting every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
That's
I think
what Zach said.
that's pretty reasonable. I think ideally we'd want to be able to have some things that can make changes even more, flexibly. So we want to be able to make changes pretty agile and be pretty agile.
How long will beta run? Was Mike Kelly's?
Right now we're trying to keep the beta open until release. So we don't know how long that'll be. We might have to do something where we did again, like take it down at the very end, sort of what we're doing with the alpha. But the
we
goal
don't
is
expect to
leave the
wipe
beta
any
running.
levels or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, the way we're really considering it is, from beta on, we're ready for feedback, we're ready for input, and we're constantly working as hard as we can to continually get better and better and better.
Right.
Cool. So what are you throwing in now? Some lights?
I'm gonna add a torch so I can kind of look down in the cavern that I made.
That's one of the cool things about lights is you can totally change their color. And you can do things like pulse speed and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
you
so
can
right now
attach
it's
them to a
stable.
torch and make it like a fire flickering pretty easily.
Yep. So now it's on flicker.
No more mixing months. No, what would that be? November?
No, that would
Oh,
November.
November?
Yeah.
That sounds horrible.
It does. Almost as horrible as seeing everybody in the office with beards
That's
come
true.
then.
That's true. We're really, really thinking we won't need November.
Yeah, let's hope
That's
not.
cool.
So controller versus mouse. I mean, we get this question a lot. basically, like the three main types of input is touchscreen, obviously you can do, and that's really cool for sculpting and painting and stuff.
Oh, you're so...
Mouse and keyboard is good.
Get out of there.
And controller's really good. They like it for using the brain and tiles because you get the muscle memory and you can just kind of go through and go really fast. And a lot of people use all three. Some people prefer one or the other, but a lot of people will use it like they might build with the mouse. This is what we expect for Win 8. A lot of people are going to build and sculpt and paint with the mouse, and then they'll go into pick up a Xbox 360 controller for the PC and use that for doing all the coding and stuff.
Right.
So you can mix and match.
So, Slaton, can you just throw in a default brain into the main character and show like going to first person or
Oh, sure.
awesome top-down Robotron brain or something?
I wonder if that's
So
in this
aside from
build.
just dropping in lots of objects, you can also just swap out the brain of an individual object. So Rumble, yes, you can trigger Rumble on your own and you can control Rumble. We don't have the ability to do that with Impulse yet on Xbox One, but it's something that we're looking towards. You can make the controller vibrate in a cutscene, put in letterbox in a cutscene, add depth of field in a cutscene, make camera shake in a cutscene, so you can do all kinds of stuff around that. How does the actual mouse work when you're in the brain picker? So you can mouse around the object and you can click and touch, but one of the things that somebody was asking is there an autofill?
Right, yeah, autocomplete.
So the auto thing is you can actually just go into the search bar, type the tile you want, and then you can just skip straight to that tile.
Yeah, I was actually using that earlier.
Yeah, so if you're looking for just like camera, you can just type in camera and it'll show you the camera folder.
Yeah, he's saying, can he type in like bump space, player space?
No, you can't. You'd have to type in bump and then put in the tile.
You can do
Right.
it pretty quickly though.
Yep.
I can do something like, well, that's a sensor, so it needs to be on win. Bump.
Yeah, you can totally make a title screen.
And a
Quite
fishing game.
Quite a few people made a title screen that was input sensitive. So when you're on controller, they'd actually have like the little button tutorials pop up to show you how to play.
It is one of the
Oh, what'd you do?
third-person
Cool.
shooter. I made him an enemy. I just swapped it with the button.
Did you show first?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So tomorrow, hopefully, Crossroads.
We're gonna end on something cool.
I wonder if that new brain is in here. Let's see.
I saw it earlier.
So tomorrow's what? So yeah, we have a stream tomorrow. It's going to be on the Microsoft Studios channel. And that's /Microsoft Studios, twitch.tv/Microsoft Studios. And that's going to be at 3:30, and we do that usually every other week. Bi-weekly, that's not bi-weekly, that's every other week.
Yes.
And the topic tomorrow will be what?
Well, we'll go through some of the changes to Crossroads, and we'll talk about some of the things that you can just turn the game on and play, and see some of the big kind of gameplay additions to Crossroads.
So that's really be a Crossroads focus, and so that's another way, like, you know, we do a lot of the blank slate to start creating. This is to show, hey, here's how you can go ahead and use the World Wizard to put in a game,
Oh,
make
the goblins
stuff,
on your
pick
team?
it.
No.
Well, he's not doing a very good job of getting to you.
No, it's not hitting the goblins.
So this is to show like how you can put in different components without having to code. And then tomorrow, it's like a theme, we're going to show Crossroads, which basically just steps you through the entire thing of creating an entire game without really having to pick anything other than make simple choices. And of course, in any of these levels, at any time you can hit edit, and boom, you're in there and you can change absolutely anything you want. So it's definitely very cool.
Yep.
Any other questions before we get going, guys?
Nice. And then you just drop down that exploding barrel.
Yep.
The infamous red barrels, and
Yep.
you just dropped those down from default brains and had a cool, fun setup with exploding barrels.
Yeah, and then I could actually make them tumbling, so I could have like a bunch fall on the goblins and then shoot them.
That's cool. You should do that.
I think I will. Actually, let's do.
Dodecahedral brush. There's options for some different brush shapes. I don't know if a dodecahedral brush is coming, but there's options for some different shapes that we'll be expanding on. You can do square, sphere, and why is it escaping me the other one? Square, sphere,
This is
and,
like the
cylinder.
and cylinder.
Cylinder, yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that. I saw that last night when I was messing around.
Can you ride on animals? You could attach yourself to the animal. It wouldn't line up perfectly like a mount, but you could attach yourself to the animal.
Yeah, see, you can do pretty much anything. It's just sort of a question of how polished will it look and how much work would it take to do it. But like that'd be easy, yeah, to stick yourself.
Yeah.
on the animal. It just wouldn't have all the necessary riding animations and stuff unless you did
So
that.
WWE 2005, I've promised this a couple times, Slaton, so I might have to put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
People wanted to see Raining Blood.
Raining
Last time I
Blood?
tried to spawn a bunch of waterfalls and then tint them red
Yeah.
from a template, the tinting didn't work.
Oh.
So you want to throw in some rain and some
Yeah, sure.
waterfalls and tint them red? So we'll rain blood at the end of our otherwise completely family safe feed here. We'll have to put up a disclaimer. Blood may rain. Was that old driving school thing, blood on the highway or whatever? Remember that one?
No.
So Andy didn't come down and make a masterpiece.
Yeah,
I know, right?
He
Why not?
promised.
Why does he
said
hate
it's-
us? Why does
I
he
don't know.
hate us?
We're
I
gonna
think
have
the
to get
beard
Andy
is
to come
making him
down.
grumpy.
It might be.
It's probably itching.
Zod General, which I only know of General Zod, says that Claude smells terrific.
Hmm.
So
Well, all right.
interesting news for me. We'll let him know.
Yeah, well, yeah. Hopefully he knows that. Jeez.
Oh, we can't end on Journey.
Oh, you gotta sing Journey? Awesome. Smash Sniper Dude's very
Maybe,
heavy.
and it won't be me because you don't want me doing that. Like, maybe we can try and figure out a way to get Journey to happen when we actually ship, when we actually get beta out.
I thought you were gonna have, a professional come down and sing that.
I did, but he's no longer available.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, that's life as a big city promoter, man. You gotta have a
That's-
backup
that's-
plan. You
that's
never. The
true.
show must go on, just like the Twitch stream.
That's true.
It must go on. Even when Henry's like, "Oh my God, I don't know what we're gonna show. The build isn't working," which is like what every day.
Every day, pretty much.
It's pretty
Is it
funny.
Enough Raining Blood for you?
I think so.
Wow, that's good. See,
I think
wait.
so.
So I
I
gotta
don't know,
say,
maybe a bunch more.
Alex wasn't able to pull it off, but Slaton was. I'm just throwing that out there.
That's pretty hardcore.
I think so.
We can get some Guar music in the background and have Raining Blood here. Scale that blood. You can scale it up. It gets pretty pixelated.
Oh, I that was scaled. It starts out pretty small.
All right, so
Really?
let's see. Where is it? Oh, wow.
Oh, that's kind of gross, man.
And you've got the rain dropping in the world.
Yep.
And you're shooting squirrels.
I'm shooting exploding barrels.
There's definitely a precursor to some sort of apocalyptic Armageddon.
I think I definitely need a light in here too.
Can you switch player control between multiple characters? Yeah, you
Yes.
could probably do that with
That's
Push
really
Brain
easy.
too. Yeah.
That's super easy.
Yeah, I think we showed that.
I think we did too.
And in a good note, but beta release date.
Soon.
Beta is imminent.
Soon. All right.
We're day to day guys. Like you
Yep.
know, it's we're real close to getting it in to get our cert and go through that process, and then it'll be out. It's like ask us every day because we're all excited
Yep.
and waiting.
Yep. Cool. Thanks everybody for the great questions. And
Yeah. So tomorrow 3:30, 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. Now we're now Pacific Standard Time. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter. Check us out on Reddit or the .org forums. Hit us up with questions. And we'll be seeing you in about, 23 and a half hours.
That's right. Get ready. We're going to be playing the stuff you make soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, Layton.
Thanks, young Slaton.